Good morning. Get rolling here. All right. So people got tired yesterday of the waiting and a little bit of selling. Technically, no damage done whatsoever. Um, Regional banks pulled in from where we thought they would. I'll take a quick look at that. What's been strong, well, which was on a short-term basis, regional banks, and biotech was quite strong. That gave it up, which propelled the Russell up to its 200-day in the top of their trading range and came off of there. Let's get some charts up here. And all right. So spiders, S&P, you see the support level down here, and they're right on top of, well, a little below the 20 MA. This they should show up here, right? If they believe that everything's going to be okay, which everything we've reviewed over the last few weeks, everything's going to be okay with this debt ceiling. Buyers will show up here and at least stabilize it and wait to see what's happening. And so that's an assumption. And we'll see if that happens, since this is a significant support level. You had the two power bars come off of that level there. And ideally, right, it holds here. And going my cursor, you can see it's right in the middle on the hourly chart of this these overlapping bars, pivot highs, pivot lows. So right in the middle of this range right there. I don't know whether it needs to come down to 410, the whole number. Maybe so, come down to the bottom of it before buyers feel more confident. But looking at the weekly chart, right, what we covered on Monday, it's Wednesday. And depending on who you listen to, they say, these politicians aren't going to make a decision anytime soon, but we don't want to see this weekly bar, go all the way down to the bottom of last week's bar, and especially not to close there. So far, everything's okay, but buyers need to step up. And who really wants to do that and count on politicians are going to save the day on time anyway? So there's support. That's my Russell. You can see the move up to the top of the range, pivot high, pushed up through it just to tag the 200, and things sold off as biotechs hit a whole number, $90, got close to the prior high. Again, look to the left. Regional banks, yesterday, the day before, I spoke about them coming up to this resistance area in the declining 50 MA, and buyers showed up. That's technical analysis 101. Scott say politicians won't save the day. They will just agree not to drive us over the cliff. Probably. There was some guy on CNBC a little while ago. Was it CNBC? I think so. They said he worked on the guy's campaign that ran for governor of New York, or mayor of New York, Bloomberg. And he was saying, these politicians, and we all know this, I'm just talking here. He says that all they care about is what needs to be done to get reelected. And it's basically saying they don't care. Whatever the wind blows, it says that they'll get reelected if doing the right thing is right for them. That's what they'll do. I know, Dan, it's terrible that, these people you think that we're electing have the same interest we do, to have a stable country and do the right thing and a strong economy and wealth for everybody, blah, blah, blah. They're in it for themselves. But, you know, there's some hope out there for some of these guys. Jordan, this Marjorie Green, you know, you want to believe it. You know, maybe that's naive that some of them are honest, but I don't know. Yeah, term limits, that's the answer, man. 100%. All right, let's get to the business of the day. Yeah. What's a short-term increase to the debt ceiling? Well, I mean, what the Republicans have already said, hey, here's another, what is it, $1.47 trillion. They're just saying don't cap spending. You know, we have whatever they were saying, $4+ trillion coming in a year in revenue. Don't raise taxes and cap spending to the money we have. You know, it's a novel idea. Kind of like if we don't do that, we go broke, you know? I mean, what they're proposing is to be fiscally responsible, God forbid. Anyway, so pullbacks, futures are pulling back to that support level. They're through the 20 MA. Look to the left, you know, deep retracement. Things can come back up. It's not the end of the week, but anytime, you know. So two things here. So here's an example, deep retracement down to the pivot low. We know there's buyers there. The depth of retracement is bearish, yet buyers stepped up aggressively with a wide range bar. We know there are buyers here. We don't know how many. So we know that there are going to be buyers here. You know, it's a mess. You know, this whole year kind of is a mess other than moments in time. So will the buyer show up again? You know, or maybe they're going to come down to the 50 MA where there's another pivot low right there. You know, we'll see. Right now, you can see they're trending down toward support. You know, just to throw that on there so you can see where it is. You know, it's right down there. So typically they shoot through like a level like this just for a little bit of extra good measure for panic. Maybe you get a NYSE tick extreme and it hits those pivot lows in the 50 MA and you'll get a short-term bounce. We'll see. YM's a big mess, Alex. I hear you. It's and I spoke about this yesterday. Every time we get a bullish move up, it comes all the way back down. Yesterday, I pointed that out and said, hey, you know, was it going to do the same thing again? But then, you know, I got this thing froze up and I had to hand it over to Dan. But one of the differences here, you know, is we got one pivot low, two pivot lows. So buyers have stepped up here two times, creating a more significant line in the sand to hold. Now here it is. You know, are they going to show up? Maybe it needs to tag the 200, you know, to be aware of that. And it's always good just to look at, you know, other than the futures to see where this is. And this doesn't update here, but, you know, just setting an alert at the 200 MA, because you're probably not going to be looking at this during the day. I don't look at it, but, you know, just set an alert there if it goes off. You know, looking at, you know, futures, good to look at that during the day, but look, those that are trading those futures contracts are looking at that. Those that are, you know, I don't know who else is looking, but look, I think the majority are making decisions based on the cash market. And so this is now below the 50 MA on SPX based on where spiders are. I've got the alert down here at the bottom of these bars. You know, I don't know if it'll hit the 50, but you know, right now, just based on where spiders were, they're right here. So where's the premium on SPX? Let me see what Jake and I usually have the same thing in 41.75 on the upside. I don't know, Jake. So 41.50, 41, no way. No, 40.70 is what I had. 40.70 it's below the 50 MA. I think that's the safer bet. And I always looking for, you know, fading a move because that's where the premiums get jacked. And so things could fall a bit more at the open. They typically do a bit when they're trending down like that till they hit support. And there could be premium down here, down near these lows, which you probably won't get there today. The 4175, again, let's see. S&P's SPY was here. You can see my cursor was here in the middle of this little range here. And somewhere in here is where they're going to want to show up. So it's kind of a wide whippy range. You always want to get as far away as possible and near support. So if it continues to drop at the open, this 40-60 area could have enough premium. $160, I should say. It's only 45 by 55 cents right now. So we're gonna have to wait and see if it actually drops, but we'll see. All right. Pulling back, prices pull back on the daily chart. Technically nothing is wrong. And that 20 MA is lined up where support is, give or take. However, we see that there is some pivot lows there on the hourly chart where the momentum is beginning to stall as it comes down there. So we'll see if that holds here at the open. As a day trader, of course, you got to look inside the bars. And most of the time where bars overlap like this a little bit, it's not that that's overlapping very much, but that's where you'll find some kind of consolidation on the intraday timeframes. Let me see where this is. Middle of those bars. Jose's asking Q's support. Well, you can see where I've got my horizontal line right there. All right, just about 331. And you're saying 328. Well, it depends on how much selling we see. You see here's 328. And so on the futures, 331 is where that consolidation is. And let's see, this is at 331 now, and it's right here. That same area of consolidation that I showed you on the futures. The more significant support is down here. Well, you're asking about 328. Now, to get down to 328, things got to start looking a little ugly. But if you want to, see if it gets down there, then you go to your 5-minute chart or 2-minute chart and see if you start getting some bottoming action, some wide range bars, which there's nothing like that right now. So, we look to the left, wait to see if prices get to those levels, and then go to your smaller time frame and look for some type of bottoming action, and whatever that looks like, bar by bar. We looked at YM, we looked at the Russell, we looked at the Russell ETF. You can see it's pulling back here. Overall, it's a mess, but as I mentioned yesterday, watch regional banks, watch biotech, some of the oil, and it gives you some insight as to what's going on here. So you see biotech ripping and regional banks going up and a little bit of, strength in some of the smaller oils. You don't want to be shorting this. And, as this got up to what was to the left, sellers showed up. No trader pivot lines, no whatever. All right. Pointed out yesterday, short-term interest rates, popping up there. Usually that means that they're going to raise interest rates, but the consensus says they're going to pause. We'll see. And what else? Biotech's not really doing much. Yeah, well, the 30-year led the way up. And Alex is pointing out to me that where the 30-year is, biotech's just in a coma. Yeah, well, that's already up to 4% and up at the top of the range there. The 30-year yield. So some buying will show up. You can see here in bonds, and this pulls back a little bit. I pointed out to you the 10-year, pulling back a little bit. And lastly, look, sentiment hasn't pushed up through these bands yet. And I suppose it's not going to, as prices are beginning to pull back today. So we'll see what happens today, what news maybe comes, and what, like we know, we're going to have to wait until that news comes out to where whatever the market's going to do, it's going to do. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Wow, Alex, over 7% mortgage with housing holding up so strong. It's impressive. I heard Kramer talking on CNBC about Toll Brothers earnings, and he said that their average, well, it's coming in now, it was up. He said their average price of a home is now $1 million. So at 7% mortgage, 20% down, that's still a big nut. Wow. Yeah, let's jump right to earnings here. A couple blowouts of retail. Urban, a couple of us, this is the only earnings trade I personally did, shorted the $25, $2 put spread. And so I'm just bidding a penny to close the 25s. Just because that's what I do. Just get out. You don't have a headache for a penny for 3 days of risk. Into it. This was one that I said, as long as it survived today's earnings and kind of held the general third retracement, so I would call that 440. But it was a core watch to me. Look at that monthly. But now the gap's whacking it out. It's way down here. But so I today, MT Live, we're talking about trading the open. So it's what we do here every single day in terms of market review, hit list, executing, monitoring the markets during the opening 1 hour. So I put this in a category called excessive gap, a Wall Street favorite. Let's see what happens at the open. So that's going in a window into it. JWN. Yeah, another earnings. Yeah, that's a beautiful 30-minute high. Sure, I'm going to put that in a window. We'll be talking obviously about gaps today in MT Live. And that one's not excessive. That's a good one. From a bottoming pattern, you got resistance here, but let's put it in a 5-minute window and see what happens. Airbnb, yeah, I had this in the weekend letter as a short, and then I canceled it with this big green bar, but now it's a bull sandwich breakdown. So yeah, that's a short idea. Airbnb, I'll put that in the window. I'm back to earnings. PNW gapping up 197. So that's a put spread idea and 30-minute high idea. Agilent getting whacked. This goes in my category of excessive gap on, I don't know, I wouldn't call this a Wall Street favorite, but I'd call it a real company. So let's see what happens. That's all. VFC gap in 1990. 30-minute high could be a day trade, but look at daily, weekly, monthly here. That's what I call swimming upstream. Toll we looked at, newer. This was another one that had potential over yesterday's high if it opened relatively flat. It's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. Gaps whacking it out, but sometimes we have what we call the bearish gap that bullies, where it ignores it, like Home Depot. This was an earnings gap, and the next day negated. So I actually have this on my list for a 1, 2, 3. We get an inside bar. Then tomorrow, over the highs, I will be selling a put spread. Yeah, ADI, it's in my list here. 980. This could be the start of a bottoming pattern. Hasse. Babar. Sloppy buy setup. I don't see any prints. LX. Could be the start of a bottoming pattern. Yeah, ADI. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in my long watch just because of Wall Street favorites. So yeah, I noticed the SMHs are down like 250, so I'm sure that's dragging it. 128.90. All right, so this is actually, if we get a reversal bar today, then this will be a fantastic put spread idea for tomorrow over today's high. We'll see. Let's see how far it keeps going down. NVIDIA has earnings after the bell, and that's still holding strong. That Dan Niles guy was on, talking about, AI. He's bullish on it. Oh, there was a good venture capitalist on CNBC talking about AI also. And I like this guy because he was like saying exactly what I have said over the last 30 years, which is we get a new technology out. These VC firms jack up the prices, they overinflate them, then the stupid public chases them higher. There's only going to be a few winners, and there's going to be a lot of disasters. And I have another personal successful friend that went to an AI show in Dallas, and he's shaking his head too. He's like, yeah, same thing. AI is the buzzword right now, but the stupid public is driving them up to ludicrous prices. But we'll still trade the charts. Here's the stock AI. Remember this blast off over here, then look, got clobbered. And then I don't know what happened, started rallying again. This SOUN, I have an alarm set at 310. This is an AI stock. So that's actually a minor 1, 2, 3. Yesterday went deep, but that's on my list. BMO, Bank of Montreal. This was a sell setup. We said in the green room yesterday, if this opens flat, just short yesterday's low. Now it's a pretty healthy gap down. So that's messing it up. 48.40. This is another short watch, daily, weekly, monthly. All have room to go lower on those two. XPEB down, another EV stock. Wow, this is a monster wide trading range. But similar with EVs, how many EV stocks are going to survive? How many marijuana stocks are going to survive? There's 2 more examples of the story I was just saying about AI. How many internet stocks survived in 2000 after the internet blew up? So MJ, I don't know what's going to happen here. Bitcoin stocks, there's another industry. So this AI, we've seen this movie before. And guess what? In 5 years and 10 years, there's going to be another thing. History repeats itself. But I got an alarm on this one at 202. Let's see if it can get back up there. All right, a couple more earnings here. BZ. It's a trading range in a downtrend, no interest. Futu, the same. Well, no, it's not a trading range. It's in a downtrend. Bearish weekly, monthly. DY gap breakout, but the gap's excessive to me. An ideal gap would have been just, you know, somewhere near those topping tails and then 30-minute high. So I got enough to watch. Don't need that one. Wolf. I had set an alarm at 10:25, but now I see it selling off. So it's a failed turn, as we call it. So that now looks lower. KSS we talked about. I like it. ANF 20 gap's too big. That would have been an amazing target. So whoever bought calls on this as a speculative earnings trade is getting paid handsomely, because I can guarantee that blew through the expected move. Lab $19. I'd be selling right now myself if I were long that, which I wouldn't, because it's extended into earnings. But whenever I see big gaps into earnings after a big move, just kind of my go-to 30-minute low, call spread, because it's a short-term top. LPG is bullish daily, weekly, monthly, but I don't see an easy way on. EXAI blasted into earnings. Monthly looks like a bottom. I'll keep that on the list. Shoe Carnival gapping down, ugly, all time frames. ZH could be the start of a bottoming pattern. We have a nice 1, 2, 3. It's a small little gap breakout. Let's see what that does. Place. Wow, this is a retailer getting its head chopped off. Ouch. Now, I'll keep this one in the list as a PD look as a possible excessive gap play. PD Duck. All right, I got Phil with a penny on my puts. PD Duck, I disagree. Without some type of nasty reversal, that is a very bullish gap in a wide trading range. If this weekly were to close like this, it's a bear sandwich, both weekly and monthly. So it is way, way, way too early to be thinking about shorting that. Seems your alert is off. I don't know what that means, Greg.
That
all right,
means
so
when I post to you what's happening in social media, you don't seem to hear it or be aware that you're looking at what I'm giving you.
well, I see it, I don't hear it.
Right. As I'm saying, put the alert on.
All right, so let's watch this KSS. Yeah, I mean, we looked at it together 2 weeks ago, but we'll do it again later. All right, G and K. We are long puts. I had posted this pre-market. Let's see where these puts are now. So I gave the first target and it's met. All right, perfect. So we're out at a third with a new stop.
Okay. TA. That's near the prior high, maybe a call spread. This premium.
Which one?
OKTA.
Okta. Yeah, if you can pronounce the acronym, I got a pretty good memory on a lot of stocks. All right, so we're so half up, G and K. Yeah, remember, Alex, we talked about into the close that you and I had a bearish bias, but I just didn't know. I didn't know what the picture would look like.
SPX is right on that support level, and so are the futures. They might dip a little more, but they're down a whole bunch since the beginning of the week.
Right. That's we looked at spiders yesterday. Well, so I mentioned minor support, and now it went through it, and it's in a power downtrend on 15. So I personally wouldn't be jumping in front of this. Right, I got a couple low alarms going off here. I will get to them.